Welcome again to our August ASQ Innovation TC webinar. We are so happy to have as tonight's guest speaker, Ms. Kieran Mann, for speaking to us about workplace innovation. They say that every business leader is dealing with one or more challenges. It may be retention of good employees, customer loyalty, market competitiveness, underlying profits, and/or growth. Do you wonder how can you best succeed in the world of accelerated constant change and market threats, especially within the area of workplace innovation? In this session, Kieran is going to share with you how to foster a culture of people-centered designs. She's going to help you gain skills and develop a growth mindset that will engage and motivate your people and help you to further focus on your customer needs and bring innovative solutions to them continuously. Ms. Kieran Mann is a business consultant and is the president and founder of M2M Business Solutions, as well as a business growth strategist, speaker, and representative of award-winning Crestcom's Leadership Skills Development Program. She believes that developing a happy organization is the secret to success and can be seen through three lenses. The first being inspiring employees, where you foster a culture where employees are treated the same way that they would treat their customers. Innovating processes by creating an environment where all employees are empowered and recognized for their creative ideas. And last but not least, delighting customers by transforming every customer touch point into an impactful moment. She is an undergraduate degree holder from the University of Toronto, has an executive MBA from Western University and the Ivy School of Business, and she is a member of Forbes Coaches Council. In addition, she holds various chair positions in global associations. With a vision of grow your employees, grow your business, Kieran has provided management, consulting, and advisory services on 100+ projects to more than 60+ clients. We welcome you tonight to hear Kieran's discussion with us, the ASQ Innovation Division. Before Kieran starts, we'd like to share with you just a few brief comments about our ASQ Innovation Technical Community. We want to share with you that we have a My ASQ community. You can reach us at our handle, ASQ Innovation. We have a YouTube library where Kieran's selection tonight will be shared, as well as our prior speakers and presentations. And we invite you to our upcoming events, both Meet the Innovation Professionals, next month's webinar, Innovating in the 21st Century, as well as our upcoming Innovation Day on the 15th of October. Kieran, are you ready to take it away?
I am. Just waiting for you to pass on the share for me. Awesome, I think I got that. Bear with me, guys. There you go. Let me know when the screen is on for you all.
Absolutely perfect.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm assuming some of you must be in a different time zone. I am in Toronto, Canada, and it is 7 p.m. 7:07 to be exact time on my side. I'm so happy, and thanks to Rhonda for reaching out to me and giving me an opportunity to speak today. It is a beautiful topic and very dear to my heart. Rhonda mentioned about the Happy Organization, which is one of my companies, my product line, service as a consultant of developing companies into happy organizations. Me and my team are in a mission to see how many in our lifetime we can turn into the percentage of calling them happy organizations. So just to give you a little background so that the topic resonates and flows well for you, happy organization is about developing a company where people are not only talking about being motivated or engaged. We're going way past that stage and talking about employees to reach the state of being inspired. And when someone is inspired, it's like an autopilot because they're consistently thinking about what they can do, and that's where innovation begins. The environment that we require, the culture that will build and will focus on workplace innovation and bringing customers to that piece where we are focusing on value-centric customer experience. Combined force is what all happy organization is about. So staying on the topic, today we're focusing on workplace innovation. A little bit about my company and I, as I already mentioned about the mission we are on. We really are focusing on bringing out the best, bringing the best of the people and the team members all the way from bottom up and top to down. But what does it do for our clients? It allows them to transform their every touch point that they have with their customers to result into a very impactful and a delighted moment. And one of the best things that I love hearing from my customers is when they say, my team is on autopilot now. We have enabled the whole system to that extent. And this is where human-centric innovation becomes default in an organization. So a little bit about me. Keeping it simple, Rhonda has already done a great justice to introduce me. So these are just few pictures of my girls on the top and the bottom and the two dogs that I have. And I feel not only as a professional or a business owner or an individual working in the group in a professional setup, I feel even as a person, I'm always looking for innovation. Your day-to-day routine as an individual, as a human, I'm looking for how can we be more creative? How can I reduce the time and the cost in my day-to-day routine? As a mother, looking for how can I get these things done fast enough or easily or still get the quality that I'm looking for. As a leader, igniting the passion. How do I get my team, my clients, their employees to the mode where there is an urge about what's next? We got this. What do we do next? And a business owner, as you all will agree, in the world we are in, where everything is talking about the far end of technology that we have ever achieved so far, about integrating systems and gig economies and global economies and digitization and so on. So if we look from our journey from the time whenever we started work, for me it has been 24 years as a professional, the things have so much moved. And if you break it down to everything we have achieved, they're part of innovations. So I define innovation not just disruptions, but I define innovation as an idea. Someone working on an Excel sheet and was able to crunch the data from 10 minutes to 8 minutes or 9 minutes, a minute over the year is a cost saving, hence an innovation for that individual in that area. So this is how far the workplace innovation goes, where we're not only talking about big stuff, but we're also, of course, we're talking big stuff, but we're also talking about small little steps that we all can take in our environment by supporting each other, by encouraging each other, and moving to the path of cost savings, efficiencies, and other new technologies and things that we can do in our workplaces. So just asking you to think about the memory lane. How far, depending on the times you have started working. For me, I still go by my 25 years. That in last 5 years, when I started working, there was no Wi-Fi. There was no smartphones, forget iPhones. There was no online banking. People used to, from my time, I remember my parents going into the bank, and here am I when I don't even like going to the bank. It's everything has to be online for the time for ease and again the speed and getting more faster stuff done. So where are we now? From the time where things were slow, were more in control, there was less and less technology, to the world where everything is www. And now we're talking about making the products and thinking about how the new product, the new service can fill a gap. It can improve lives and it can break the mold and bring interruptions and disruptions in the market. How can we have more and more Steve Jobs into the market? And how the current stats where it says 10 bright sparks currently claim that they have great ideas that can have a world change invention and bring much more technology changes in the coming time. And one of the stats that I was able to gather, I think is one of the latest ones, where it says 54% people agree that hard work and team effort make a product happen. So yes, it is all about ideas. It is about having a passion to brainstorm and take an idea from idea state to completion and into the market. But in the end of the day, it is also about working together. And that's where the workplace and the innovation join hands to have a much more successful result. And I would also say less stressful, less noise, because people are more collaborating with each other. They're working more consistently with each other, more sharing ideas and supporting one another. I thought I would just share an example of how I feel through my eyes in 25 years of my work life, how I have seen businesses run. And if you have anything new, I would love to see what you can share in the chat box, and Rhonda can share with us of what you can remember from last few years of the changes and the innovations that I've seen. For me, I think from the time I remember finishing school and starting work, it was I think the year when DOS was coming to an end and Windows was taking over. And I remember as a child seeing those small, I can't even remember, they used to be called tape or something, and then it took over as CDs as I was growing up later in the time. So there has been all these changes that have happened over the time, and this is where we are today. How has the market moved over the years? I would say in the olden times, I used to say it's steady. People were more focused on quality. People were more into manual tracking systems, inputting the data, and then putting together Excel formula spreadsheets. The delivery change and the supply chain was just talking about ERP. But at that time, if I remember even 15 years ago, these systems were not such a mandatory. You would go and join a company when you are taking over a new job, and you will see the ERP systems and some new technologies and some refined systems, and then you will work in another company that is still a little bit old school, and I do not have not taken over the new technologies and the systems. So the need was kind of defined by the businesses themselves of whether they will be making a strategic decision to bring on those technologies and the newer systems, or if they're just going to wait on for a few years. Looking from that time to now, it is not becoming like a choice. It's becoming like you have to have it for a survival. And from that mode to constantly thinking about innovations, because that is becoming a backbone of competitiveness. It is becoming a backbone to ensure you can grab new businesses. It is becoming a need for more market expansions. What is very important again is that the internal environment in an organization is as such that there is more clarity, there's more systems, there are much more refined and continuation into the processes. And of course, the people are trained to those and they're allowed to brainstorm, get together often enough to bring their ideas and look into the possible gaps that they can have as they're moving from the idea stage to the future processes before bringing anything into the market. So from my own experience, thinking about me as a person at that time, I remember being very, very passionate about bringing my new ideas. I think I'm still like that, crazy about bringing idea, and still I feel I act like a 10-year-old. I have an idea and I want to conquer it and I want to bring it to the market, or I want to apply to my business or with my teams or with my clients. So from that time, I think one of my personal experiences as an innovator is my past experiences, 20 years of automotive manufacturing, from being a head of quality and to moving all the way to president and general manager of those manufacturing companies. And we used to use certain work on a lot of aluminum. So automotive, working with BMW and other programs, there was a lot of use of aluminum. And aluminum was very tricky to work with. And it was at that moment, I would say 12 years ago, it used to be the new disruption in our auto manufacturing, because how you're going to bring aluminum, how you're going to make sure it can be painted over it, how are you going to repurpose the scrap if you can, and then followed by a lot of magnesium coming in the market, which was very, very, very tricky, that you're sanding some magnesium and it can have a fire in the plant. So it was a lot of tricky stuff that we used to do at that time. So innovation is something, I would say, whether you're in a house, you are in any industry you are in, everywhere innovation just comes in a different form and different shape. So why it is becoming more and more important and more an area where we must all focus on. Let's see what's happening in the market. One of the things that I always think is when we start work in the morning, it's like a vicious cycle. If anybody can relate to that, I would love to hear your thoughts in the chat box. We get up in the morning, at least I can say I, 10, 15 years ago, would get up in the morning, plan my day, and this is me as a president, and have a full solid plan, go to work. You walk into the plant and you get called. Somebody needs you, there's a fire, this happened, something unexpected came up, the customer requires something that wasn't in the plan, supplier is having some delay in the materials coming in. It is all those daily fun stuff that you come across manufacturing that you get to deal with. And then you reach 5 p.m. While everybody is leaving, you're still thinking, did I exactly do the job that I'm supposed to be doing? And that's where you sit down and start doing the work. I think this was the moment when I started feeling that it was becoming a routine, that I was trapped into that vicious cycle, was actually the birth of THO, the Happy Organization. And I started looking at what kind of culture can be built in the company. Now that I do have the rein in my hand, I can bring changes. I do have that say in the company, being sitting at the top seat, that I can bring ideas and lead everybody by testing different theories. So for me, bringing workplace innovation was actually another innovation within ourselves, because we had to see which piece will connect with which piece to actually make it work. Because many times we all talk about, we have tried this, and it doesn't work. So this is how we came up that, first of all, it is very important that people have reached the stage they need to. Even though we talk about having right people at the right places, it is important that they're inspired to that extent and see it. And then the other important thing is what is happening in the market. So let's see what is happening in the market right now, as of now. We're dealing with the impact of COVID-19. I think we all can feel that. We are going through that for 18 months now. We're dealing with employee retention issues, and it is just getting and expanding more and more with younger generations coming in the market. And also not to forget that by 2025, we're expecting 75% of the population will be millennials. Then on the other hand, we are seeing the baby boomers leaving. The generation that is on the peak right now will be very quickly leaving. It was expected to leave by next year, but with the COVID and everything, I know these stats have changed now, probably drifted by a few years. But they're aging, hence they're leaving. What is the impact of that on the coming generations and the millennials? How do we make sure the experiences that our current generation has passed into the next generation? How do we see the innovation that they are working on or the trials they have done so far, they are being passed on to the next so that they do not waste the time and they can quickly pick up from wherever the previous generation or the people that are leaving the workplaces are take it from there. Market competition is not a surprise. It is becoming a market where constantly we're talking about who went ahead in the game, and it's a chasing game that we're dealing with. Industry revolution. I know even ASQ has started taking a deep dive into 4.0 quality revolution. So all the digital things that are happening at this point and integration that is happening is, again, not only to deal with the current innovation that is that can come in the time, but also the innovation that has already been figured out. How about bringing that into your workplaces is another type of innovation? Because if a system is available in the market, you still have to take that system, apply in your organization, customize it to how it will work in yours. ERP is launched. ERPs were created. So let's say that is an innovation that was done 5 years ago. Does that mean that ERP just can be plugged into our system in 5 days and we are ready to go? No. We still go through our pain, our journey of customizing it to our needs. And that is, again, your own innovation of figuring out how the system is going to work to make sure you're getting the benefit that you're supposed to get. Social changes is something where a lot of diversity is coming in place, and people, government, and businesses are focusing on more value-driven opportunities, more diversity among the employees, and bringing the opportunities to utilize their skills and move on the path of innovation faster than even before. Customers have moved from the journey of being a customer service. I would say in my grandpa's times is what I used to hear was the customer service. You know, you are selling a product and a service in exchange of money. From that we move to customer satisfaction, we move to customer experience, and now that customer experience is rising very fast to value-driven customer experience. And to deliver that, when the price moved to expectation of quality, and then it moved to expectation of just-in-time deliveries, and now it has moved to every touch point that customer experience to be value-driven. Does that mean all the previous ones they were asking for went away? No, they're still there. They all just became default. So hence our expectation of our customers from us has risen to the extent that innovation within your company is also a must. So this is where I draw the line that innovation is not just bringing something new. Innovation is equally about what you're going to do in your current system and processes and bring those improvements, the continuous improvements, or little efficiencies that you can bring in your system that will help you conquer or be answerable or be ready for all these market threats that we are facing at this moment. So how can a focus on workplace innovation help businesses and you? So the current stats of what we have seen, and this is also the information that we have gathered, and when I say we, means M2M and I, what we have gathered from all the pilot runs that we have done of applying THO from last 2.5 years in around 7 industries. And this is where we're seeing the impact of inspired employees, workplace innovation that is focused on value-driven customer experience. These are the common areas where there is a high increase and a positive impact on the bottom line. So employee satisfaction. In the time when we're talking about retention issues, we're talking with these models to have employee satisfaction. We're talking about better performance coming from our employees. We're talking about increase in not only mergers and acquisitions via innovation, but we're also talking about organic growth within our organizations. We're talking about high level of bottom line impact on our P&Ls, and we're talking about returns where we have better and a higher increasing market share because we have better strategic relationship with our customers. So what can we do differently as individuals, as leaders, as business owners? If we all agree that these are all the goodies that we can get by creating these structures in our company, where do we begin from? Let's quickly start from the basic. And this is no new creation and nothing that I invented. It's the basic step of idea to market. That if we human as creators, what do? We visualize, we analyze, we act and decide what we're going to do, and then now in today's time, now we have started automating that process. And that automation, one thing that is missing actually in this model is after automate, sustain. How do you make sure whatever you have created and executed is a sustainable model? So looking at these fancy phones, I think in my time when I started working, it was those flip phones and turning into Blackberries. And now we're talking about iPhone 12 Pro, and I don't know which one, next one is coming in a couple of months. So, life cycle of a product or a service. If we just follow the basic project management tools and move from the idea generations to drafting out all the concepts, doing some pilot runs, doing some prototypes, and then going into detailed concept, and then going from low volume product trials to high volume product trials and customers testings and so on. If this is all common, why do we still feel that something gets missed in this chain? This is pretty much a very general concept, whether it is a launch of a project, whether it's any kind of program management, whether it's a product management, or whether it is an innovation. Kind of just change of some words and twist, but pretty much it's a constant flow of how anything starts from starting stage to the final phase of the launches. So what goes wrong in this product or service? Will anybody like to take a moment and share with our chat, according to you, what do you think, whether it's a product launch or an innovation, it's going through its life cycle, what are the repeated hurdles that you see which results into this innovation's launch more challenging with more noise in the day-to-day routine? Would anybody like to share something here? Rana, let me know if when you see any comments in the chat box.
I think we had one before you go to foot on that. How has innovation changed with the current situation of remote work where employees are not sitting together with their teams?
So I would say, well, it's first of all, a great question, whoever has brought that up. I would say if you take this question and apply to anything that is happening, the answer would probably be very similar. It is no different than when there are millions of articles being written right now about employees working remotely, the communication breakdowns when they're working remotely, or the journey of innovation, or the launches of innovation, or the launches of the products that anybody is bringing in you. The concept remains same. And this is where the THO comes very commonly and connects everything together. When you have employees that are well connected and they are at a stage, okay, think of your organization and think of at least 10 people around you. And let me know if you would agree that everybody's in a different state of mind. You may find a couple of people around you that are very, very happy. They're like, I love my life, I love my work. Then you're gonna find some that are like not happy. They may be complaining, something doesn't work for them. Some are like just dragging. Gotta come at 9 o'clock, gotta go, gotta work for my bread and butter. So everybody around you, as a standard format, is in a different state of mind. The key thing is how in an organization we take people that are in different state of mind and first bridge the gap and bring them at one par. How do you get them all not only engaged, but also move to the next stage where they're motivated and then reach the point that they have become inspired employees? When they are all at that stage, their communication works very well. They collaborate very well. The teamwork works very well. So when they are doing a launch or doing a day-to-day routine, or they are working on a new idea or a prototype, they will be able to work whether they're sitting under the same roof, or they're working remote, or they're sitting in different countries. The gap of them not physically being able to see each other really does not impact your work if the first piece has been done properly in an organization and day-to-day communication, and there is synergies between people. That's my thought process, and this is how I have run all the companies in the past, and I'm doing the same with my current clients. The distance is immaterial. The only thing that the distance does is an impact to our human behavior. We are social beasts. We are social animals. We cannot just be isolated sitting in the rooms on our own. We need people around us to talk, to interact, to giggle, to eat together. So that's the social need. If you're doing that social need somehow here and there, but your systems are there, the foundation in an organization exists around employees, they do have clarity of processes and systems around them, then when you move into the stage of workplace innovation, or you're innovating your processes, or you're doing big disruptions, it will not impact. Does that help?
That was from Diane Mesa. We have another comment from Jerry Stepp, which says, I think in regard to this graphic, defining voice of the customer and business case. I think you're asking for examples, defining business tools to efficiently manage and plan project personnel.
Just repeat the question for me once, please, Rhonda.
Yeah, I think you were asking for comments on this particular graphic, Kieran, and I think Jerry was saying, you know, his overlay for that was perhaps how they go about harnessing voice of the customer and aligning that to the business case, and or defining business tools to efficiently manage and plan project personnel.
Correct. Yeah. So let me add a comment there. Where the breakdown happens in an organization, and all these have a direct impact on anything that we're talking in the market about employees, or whether we're talking about anything that is happening under the roof of innovation, or it is happening at the delivery to customers. Irrespective of these three pieces, when at the very start of any work that is being done under a business, when there is no clarity, or I shouldn't say no clarity, there's lack of clarity. When that lack of clarity is not there, lack of clarity exists, that lack of clarity has shadow over the next step. What is the next step? You have to have systems. You have to have strategic plans. You need to know how much budget you have to put. You need to know what resources you're going to need. You need to know what softwares you're going to need, what other tools are you going to need, who are the right people. Everything that is required for an action is not going to be correct. When that first root segment is weak. This is how I see in a business organization. When that system is clear, so for example, let me give you an example. If anybody is in Canada or at least heard about Canadian cities. Okay, let's go, somebody's going from Chicago to California. You're going from Chicago to San Francisco, and you sit in a boardroom meeting, and you call your team, and you're like, we're in Chicago, next Monday, we all are going to meet at noon in San Francisco. Once you leave, you're going for a customer visit. Once you leave outside, guys, you will have your cars and with a GPS system, they'll see you on Monday afternoon. What is leadership thinking at that point? I've given my team tools. I've given them a direction. What do I expect? Delivery, which is see me there at noon to visit a customer. Noon comes, Monday comes, nobody's there other than the leadership. Disappointment begins because you're assuming that I have done everything and there is a lack of performance from your employee side. A few minutes later, you get a phone call from one of the employee and they're like, oh, I am in San Francisco. I just don't know which address I was supposed to be there. I assumed that my address has been put into the GPS since when I heard about car and GPS. But when I started the vehicle, it took me San Francisco, middle of the downtown, and I don't know where. I hope this doesn't happen in reality, but just giving you hypothetically an example. If you do not have that clarity of where you were supposed to meet, that is exactly what vision is. When that is not there, everything after that is going to be cloudy or cloudier to a certain extent because you have a lack of information. And this is from where everything begins. We all in different positions assume and believe that we have done this job and this is what should happen. But it doesn't happen or the systems get weaker because of those lack of clarity. So when you're going into a mode of innovation, which is becoming like a constant default, but the foundation of the organization has these little gaps all around it. Anything you try to do, even under the roof, forget remote. This is where we start hearing noises every day. This is sometimes when we struggle to meet the deadlines. This is where people are working more than 8 hours. And yet the customer may say, oh, you worked so hard, it doesn't matter. I didn't get the things on time, or I didn't meet the quality expectation that I had, or the number of the volume that I was expecting. I'm not saying that happens every day, but it's quite common of how at least how manufacturing works. So all those things are impacted. So let's go now to a remote. Yes, why is the world talking about the impact of remote? Because all these things were already there when people are working in person. Remote COVID has just exposed it more and surfaced it out. So we got to go back to our whiteboards and say, we're working on innovation. How about bringing workplace innovation? Okay, what does workplace innovation look like? And that's what we're going to talk about next. So Ed, I hope that answers the question for now, because some of the information that I'm going to share later is actually going to help you understand what I'm talking about. So can I proceed, or is there anything else, Rhonda?
There's one more, Karen. So Alumid, he or she has stated their gap is having the appropriate culture of innovation being driven by executives with the appropriate motivation to overcome some of these gaps.
Okay, so Rhonda, can you hold that question, because that's an amazing question. It's going to come later. So let me quickly go to a few more slides, because look like we have opened up the can, and I'm looking at the clock at 7:40, and I want to make sure I am not only raising the questions there and able to also actually give you some answers. So let's just follow these next 3-4 slides, and then tell me how much that answers the questions that that have triggered in your mind. When we talk about workplace innovation, my focus is always on the human side. Whether it is inspired employees, I believe in people-centric concepts. If it is innovative processes, I believe in human-centric approaches. If it is taking your clients to the stage where they're fully delighted, I believe in value-driven value-driven customer experience. So if you look at these three pieces, and let's start your organization from inspired employee level. So irrespective of which company you are from, what size you are, which industry you are, what level you're working, just first consider, as I'm talking, just visualize the employees around you. So my suggestion is an organization need to first understand who's where. And that's what I call journey of an employee. I want to know if there's 50 employees in a company, what state of mind they are in. Who's frustrated, who's angry, who's sad, who's just dragging the days by, who is very happy, who doesn't even care what is happening. They're just self-motivated to the extent that they keep on working. All these people first have to be brought to one piece. When they all are at one level, then you start moving. How do you get to that level? I'm going to go next. How? How is where I'm sharing a concept with you that I came up with a bunch of few years, 5 to 7 years ago. KEAL model. C stands for connect. A stands for ask. L for listen. E for engaged. So imagine those 50 employees that we're just visualizing in an organization, irrespective of they're in different stages. If I am in your state, I'm playing your role. First thing I would do is connect with the people around me. I want to connect with them. Just hear them out. General conversation. Let's not talk about work for a few minutes. Talk about life. Who is dealing with what? What's going on in their personal life? What ignites them? What do they want to achieve in life? Talk about that, something where you can find a personal connection. They like golf, you like golf, you found a connector. You like soccer, they like soccer, you found a connector. They want to talk more about kids and you want to talk about kids, you found a connection. Find a connection with every individual that is around you, including the people that you do not get along too much. And this is what I mean when I'm writing under C, finding connectors among different personalities. Find out who's what personality. There's 4 different types of personality without going too much in detail here. The people that are drivers, go, go, go. Let's get things happen. There's an innovation idea going on. Okay, how much time do we need? When can we get it done? Then there are other people that are analytical. They're questioning. What are you talking about idea? We haven't even done this market research. We don't even know if customer is going to want it. We don't even know if we have budget. They have all the whys and hows and everything to figure it out before they want to move forward to the innovative idea. Then there are people that have ideas, but they are resistant to talk. They don't like the spotlight. They are thinking in their mind. They may just spill the beans of what their thoughts were to somebody in the end, but they're not going to speak too much. What is going to happen with those people later on? It's going to be an obstacle because their resistance is going to come out at some point. Then there are the 4th type of people. They are in their la-la land. Just tell me if you guys are working on this. Just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. So just giving you a general format type of personality. You got to find a connector with each one of them to figure out how you're going to move forward. You got to understand the people on your wagon and then move the wagon ahead. Once you've done the connect part, ask. If you have an idea on innovation, ask them what do they think. What are their past experience? What have they tried in the past? What do they think will work? What may not work? What do the customers think? What do they know about suppliers that I've shared? Gather as much as you can gather. Bring it to the table. Ask them what ignites them. Always ask people what are their goals. Because if somebody's goals is, oh my God, I would like to have my name attached to something that is new, you got them. That's the person you always want to have on your table working on an innovation. But then you also want the people that are very analytical that were found under C piece, because those are the ones that's going to put you on the checkbox. But now you also want the drivers because they're the one who's going to say, go, 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 go. We got to get to the finish line. So you need all these people. There is no right and wrong type of people. They are all required. But once you know them and you found them a connection, that's all you need to work with them. And once you have asked them those ideas and you have responded, and that's where you move to L, which is listen. Once they have shared with you, it is your job as leader, as the person leading that innovative project, or as the project manager, it is your job to take the answers to the ideas they gave you. You have to take that information, dissect it, find more further information, go back to them and say, hey, remember you told me about this? This is what I found further. What happens when you just say that? The individual is thinking, oh, he or she remembers what I had said. Oh, they actually did some research. Oh, they actually came back and informed me what is going on that. Is that person going to give you more ideas the next time you ask? Definitely. But if you didn't, and you did not listen to them, but you asked them the questions and didn't respond to them, what's going to happen? One of the common things sometimes employees say about management, oh, I get asked 10 times. I've already said what's to be done here. I've already said how this machine can be improved and deliver more product, but nobody's heard me. Nobody has done anything. I don't even know if it was done and what happened to it. So information did not reach to them. When it didn't reach to them, next time, they're going to be less perspective to come and share with you. And less to the point, why bother? So once you've done C well, A well, L well, you have E already done. Because you've asked them, you've listened to them, you're going back, they're going to come back to you, give you more. Once they feel heard, they will say, oh, I have 4 more ideas. They are engaged. This is depending on wherever they are, you're bringing them to E level. And this is what Kale model is. Once you have brought them to Kale level, now you just got to do a repeat of the scale. And keep doing it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. By that time, they taste the blood. Typical line story. I got the flavor. I am sharing it. I'm being heard. I'm being responded. Oh, let me share 4 more. And you recognize the person who brought an idea to you. Once you complete that circle, they move from E to M, motivated. And once somebody is motivated enough and you still continue the cycle, they will become inspired. Because they did it once, they were rewarded. They did it another time, they got recognized right away. Did it another time, got recognized and rewarded again. By the time they become a default habit, because it's a human behavior that has to change. Everything here we're talking is habits. Once that behavior is achieved, then they are default inspired. Once you got your people inspired, let's go now to the workplace innovation part. You need inspired people to begin working in the best possible way when you're going towards innovation. So I would say inspired people is your input when you're working in the work in process of your innovation side to get your output of value-centric customer experience, if I want to make it easier for you to understand. So look at this complex model on the left side, and it's blurred for a reason. There's all these moving parts. When somebody is talking about innovation, they're talking about technology, what they're going to need to do on the people side, what are the things required or have to be done from top, bottom side from the business level, what will be the things that will be required to be done on the design side. All these moving pieces and so many categories. If you extract out of this and look at these 4 circles from right side to left, it is business, top leadership, making a decision to innovate something. Strategic plans are done, budgets are put in place if they're done properly. And what is required on the left side is people. So to make it happen, you need people. How do you make it happen? With the use of technology and by designing. So technology and design is your work in process input to get from B level to get to the execution of people side. So whether it's a B2B market or B2C market, concept kind of as a basic remains the same. So at this point, you have already achieved your Kale model and you have inspired people around you. What is next to do? Innovation. How about if I give you a model where I say there are 4 simple ways of dividing, planning, and executing innovation. 4 different ways. And then keeping in mind when you're doing those 4 approaches, you're keeping in mind your customer. Don't forget the end piece that we need to do with the customers. So on the customer side, what is going on? This is the current stats on the customer side. They're talking more about customer experience and less about price and products. They are becoming default. Expectations are changed. So I'm quickly going to go through that because we already talked about what is happening at the side of the customer side. Okay, so let's talk about the 4 ways of workplace innovation. The first one is strategic approach. So one way of doing it is use of scale model, bottom up, where you have ignited the people to the extent that they're inspired and they're coming to you on a daily basis or frequent enough. Hey, I'm a person work on the front line, you're my supervisor, I have an idea. You know, if we do this and move this here, we can save a body here, or we can save 10 minutes here, or we can produce 50 more pieces here. You've gone to the level that they are looking for it. It's like, you know, you have an itch in your palm is how I used to define in my time, that it's my palm is itching. That is called bottom up. That's one way of innovation, which is from basic idea status. There is no big budgets allocated. There is no strategic plan done. It is from your day-to-day operation where people are driving ideas and resulting into productivity and efficiency side. So it's an internal process. The second way of bringing workplace innovation is top-down, leadership and strategy, where the leadership is planning, this is where we want to move in next few years. These are the strategic initiatives we're going to apply. Here's the budget that we're thinking of allocating. Here's the resources we're thinking about. These are the steps. These are the systems that will be brought. You're doing an ERP launch. This is what we're going to do. We're going to come up with a new product. This is what we're going to do. It is totally a top-down driven. When top-down plan is done, you still need the bottom-up already in place, because the top-down things sometimes get messy when the bottom-up, the Kale model didn't exist in your facility, in your organization. And that's where I was talking about that if your people have reached the level that you need to have them at, then anything different that is changing will be easier, because that variable has become a constant for you and has reached the peak at this point that we can utilize them effectively. So then the leadership and the strategy part works in a much better way. People will be picked on the right places. You will have proper processes in the system. You will have proper systems in the system. And these are the areas where currently we see gaps. So to give you an example of just a basic job description, how many of you can just say 1 or 2 people, if you can answer, do you think that you have in the company's job descriptions, but they are not effective? They're sitting somewhere on the iCloud. And so many people usually say, oh, my job description, what are you talking about? I do way more than what my job description says. Can anybody relate to that? Rana, let me know if you see any comment back on this.
I'm not seeing anything come in yet.
It's a very common thing where our job descriptions are not live all the time. And what happens for that? It is an impact of you trying to achieve inspired employees. So I came up with a model a couple of years ago that I've started to go and apply to all of my customers that I have with me, is where I use ARAF. A for authority, R for responsibility, A for accountability, and then F for follow-up. Give people the clarity that I was talking about by telling them what their authority level is, at what point they need to go to their boss. Then give them the clarity of all the responsibilities they have. If you're changing it, please update that document and give it back to them. Then tell them what is their accountability. Responsibility could be 10 things, but it could be Rhonda and I can do one thing together. Does that put me on accountability? No. This is where we'll pass the buck. Oh, I thought Rhonda's going to do it. She's going to say, oh, I thought Kiran is going to do it. So you put accountability after that, because here's out of the 10, 5 is you. If that task is not happening, you are answering or you're answerable to find out why that there was a breakdown. Once that is done, you got to make sure that it is followed up. Who's going to check? Who's walking into the McDonald's and checking on those checklists that the washrooms were cleaned? If that is not happening, the first pieces again will have a breakdown. So this is how the small job description piece can play a role into the path of innovation as we're moving forward. So once these two pieces are done, the bottom up, the top, bottom. Other two areas of applying innovation or workplace innovation is a collaboration with your suppliers, even competition via doing merger and acquisitions, where you're using your partnership because your suppliers want to work in the same market. They want to expand their business into the same market. They want to launch a similar product where the material, you're going to require the same material. So there's a need. Suppliers usually have more money, they have the more budgets, and they have the technology or they have the idea. And you, because you're going to be using their material, you could be the perfect platform to try it out. So when you collaborate together, you're working hand in hand to a product where you will be working in the future to the similar customers. So that's one way of planning out the whole innovation piece. The fourth way of planning out workplace innovation is aligning with your customers. Every touch point that you have, go to the customers and ask them, what is the pain points you have? What would you like to see in the next few years which will resolve the problems that you're dealing with today? What kind of new things will make your process more effective? What can you see that will help you save the money and grab more business from your customers in the future? Where is your company moving towards? What is your company's vision and strategies in the future? Once you have that piece of information gathered over the time and you can figure out if there are similar synergies that you are probably moving in the same direction, use that opportunity. Leverage it at that point. Align with your customers that, oh, I would actually like to work in this place too. So can we innovate together? Can I try it out and you can give me your resources as well? Can I try it out and you can pay for the testing before it is finally approved? And can I work on this, but in the coming time you would like to use my product first, or at least try it out, and I get the first preference? So all these different opportunities will come. And actually the fifth one is combining your people, your leadership, your suppliers, your customers, and bang on. Go on a massive punch together. So these are all the different techniques of applying the workplace innovation and having a simple way, instead of looking at a product or a service, break it down that which bucket does it belong to. Does it belong to a bottom up? Does it belong to top down? Does it belong to a collaboration? And does it belong to a customer alignment? Once you have that basic clarity and you know you have proper inspired people, you have the top-down leadership and strategy with a clarity for you, then you're better utilizing all the tools. And when I say all tools, not only your internal tools, but the tools that you can grab from your suppliers and customer, all put together to work on a better outcome of the innovation that you're working on. So is there any question on that? Because I know the time is up and I want to respect your time, but I can continue talking if you want to go further on this, but I want to be mindful of your time as well.
I think this has reached the end of our assigned session, Kieran. So I think we didn't have additional questions come in from what you've already talked about. So I think for each and every one of our attendees, we would just like to recognize Kieran, and we hope that you have heard how to develop an environment where workplace innovation is embedded in the culture, how to utilize the KALE model to turn brainstorming and capture insights into fuel for innovation, how to develop ideas for innovative products and services by keeping your customer needs at the center of the development process, and how to become an employer of choice within workplace innovation. Kieran will be making her slide deck available. We'll send it out to all of our attendees and everyone who's registered and put it on our My ASQ site. And we'll be loading up this particular presentation into our YouTube library so that those who haven't had a chance to attend tonight can share that with us. We hope that you have had an informative and value-laden experience with our guest speaker, Kieran, tonight, and look forward to your attendance at our upcoming events. Kieran, thank you for your wonderful workplace innovation presentation. It's always informative and interesting, and we're so grateful for you to make the time to come and share your body of knowledge and your work with the Innovation TC. We'll now close for tonight, and again, thank you to those attending, and thank you so much for our guest speaker, Kieran.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
We're stopping the recording now and closing down out for tonight.